Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast with Corey and Curtis and our co-host Aaliyah. Once again, we are joined by Blayne, metal comedian and dude from Banger. Actually, when I say once again we're joined, I wasn't actually on the last podcast, so this is the first one for me. So my other two cohorts here must have made a good impression. So I'm glad you decided to brave it again this time with me. So thank you for coming back to the show, Blayne.
Yeah, we had a blast. I mean, anyone that can, I'm down to hang out multiple times with anyone that is okay with what I say about their bands during my Metal Monthly streams.
Yeah.
For context, for anybody that's listening, I don't know if you didn't hear the last one. Blayne actually reviewed Aaliyah's band Shield of Wings. I think it was a mini review last time. Wasn't that right, Aaliyah?
It's like a reaction on his Metal Monthly research stream.
Yeah. And I had to go back. I was like, what did I say? And then I was like, I think I said nice things about the music. I was like, well, what else did I say? And then I watched the video and I remember all this stuff. Man, they're making this poor lady crawl through the dirt. She's in the mud.
Yep.
Fun with that video.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
So, it's Aaliyah's turn to get the first question. Sorry.
All right. Well, Blayne, if you could once again, please give us a micro nutshell version of who you are and what you do in the realms of metal.
I am Blayne. I'm a person that likes to make jokes, and I try and make jokes anywhere I can. Metal is my favorite type of music, so I like to make jokes about metal. I'll make jokes about stuff that isn't metal. Just wherever they let me in to make jokes, I'm there.
So Blayne, since the last time we've had you on, what has been some of the things that you've seen in metal that has been a bit of a highlight other than Shield of Wings, out of curiosity?
What were my I consume so much metal on like a daily basis. You know, you gotta, my notes aren't clear, but I'm very fastidious about always having a series of notes. Oh yeah. Tomorrow. So I was really excited to find this like New Jersey based sort of hardcore-y, sort of D beat, sort of black, sort of death metal, like a bunch of kind of stuff tossed in the mixer. And they're like super left wing, which I'm super left wing, and it's always nice when you find a band where you don't have to worry about one of them being a bigot. And you know, we chatted a bit on the old social medias. I always like, it's one of the nice things about what I do is, you know, I'm making jokes and I'm being silly, but the show ends up, usually it moves some units for some bands. And so we get to kind of chat. We get to just both kind of throw some positivity back and forth at each other. And it's always a nice little time. So that I was really stoked on. And this other band, Schizophrenia from Belgium, which is like death thrash.
What was the band, Blayne? You only said it was like a left-wing.
Oh shit! Did I not say Lunar Blood? Twilight Insurgency comes out tomorrow, and Schizophrenia: Recollections of the Insane just came out yesterday.
What are okay. So now when you find a new band, I know I'm going off these questions, but sorry, go back onto them in like 1 second here. So when you find a new band and you want to talk about them on Twitch, what's kind of process? You just do a whole bunch of research on them, you listen to them, what do you like, how does this work here?
So every Sunday on my Twitch channel, we open up every single metal album coming out like a month in the future, you know, so we'll do 1 week every week. We do 1 week like a month in the future. So, you know, this Sunday, February 20th, I'm going to be doing Sunday, March or Friday, March 25th, because new albums tend to come out on Fridays. Is the general release. So we'll just open everything, literally everything, and we try at least and listen to at least 30 seconds of everything, unless they're bigots, and then we make fun of them, and I have some sound effects for when we find bigots. And we listen to a bit of their music, and if we like it, we listen to a bit more, and if we don't like it, we turn it off. And then if we really don't like it, we actually wind up listening to a lot of it, because there's frequently things to make fun of, which is great. I love when bands have music videos, because a lot of times you get to have some fun with a music video. I don't know what it is about Europe. I don't know where all this money for music videos is coming out, but European like symphonic or power or bands are just cranking out music videos nonstop. So we just go through that, and then occasionally we find a band we like, and we we listen to it. I listen to the full album, and then I generally every month I have like 15 to 20 albums that I really like. I listen to them all, and then just the 5 that I want to listen to the most, that I'm the most excited about. Boom, make it into a video.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I listen to like generally 150 bands a month.
So again, before Leah gets into her questions here, I got one more follow up on this. So have you ever had a band like, okay, so you listen to the first 30 seconds of a song, right?
Yeah.
So how do you kind of like, because some bands you can't really get into the first 30 seconds of a song. So have you ever like,
well, it's not like it's not like I press play and then I set a timer on my watch, you know. If I play 30 seconds and at like 30 seconds there's just some wind whooshing around, which happens a lot, I'll skip ahead in the track. We'll skip ahead in the track until we find some music, and then, you know, I'm obviously, you know, not every band is getting a fair shake. Maybe it's a great band under there, but you know, I'm listening to 150 bands. I only, you know, you gotta, you know, it's Dragon's Den. Give me your pitch or get the hell out.
Yeah. That would actually be a good metal show, like where you do like the pitch.
Yeah.
Get the band come up, do the pitch. But anyways, Aaliyah, take us back on track because I took us off.
It's all good. It's all relevant. I didn't ask this last time, and I don't know why, but I would like to ask you, like, who were your first inspirations to go into comedy? Who were your favorite comedians as a kid? What led you into comedy?
Oh yeah. So comedy's a weird thing to get into. As a kid, I loved comedy. I really liked, we have this thing in Canada called Just for Laughs, right? So the Just for Laughs festival would air on TV, and I got to watch a bunch of amazing comedians through that. You know, local guys like Norm Macdonald was always a big favorite of mine. And then, you know, one of the comedians that really appeals to you as a kid that really holds up as an adult is Mitch Hedberg.
Oh my God, I was literally just quoting him while cooking yesterday because I really wanted a donut, but I don't want a receipt for the donut.
Yeah. I mean, right, the amount of stuff that's just applicable in your life from that man in his brief time with us is crazy. So I got to watch that, and then the reason it took me a while to get into comedy because it would air it back to back. There'd be the Just for Laughs festival, and you'd see like famous people, you know, and then after the Just for Laughs little galas, half an hour, they'd have comedy at Club 54. And Comedy at Club 54 is this weird comedy night at like a club in Ontario. And it's like, it was basically the equivalent, like if we don't have public access here really, but it was like a public access comedy show. The guy that ran the comedy there had like a video camera and could edit a bit, and he would just shoot it himself, fire it off to the TV station. And they were like, well, it's basically like, we don't have to pay that much for this. And there was some good stuff on there, but frequently the comedy was terrible. So in my head, it was either like, okay, either I'm Norm Macdonald or I'm awful. You don't realize that there's like a mid-tier comedian where it's like a guy that just makes like $64,000 a year doing comedy. You know what I mean? Like, you think you either have to be a massive star or you're brutal. And so I kind of just went through life being like, oh man, I sure love stand-up comedy. Never could do that until comedy is like, it's almost like this weird like medieval trade where you like need to meet someone that does it, because then you have to like be like, oh wow, you do comedy? You don't seem that special. How are you doing comedy? And they go like, oh, I just went to this scary basement. And then you go, oh, I can do comedy in a scary basement? And they're like, yep, go to this scary basement. They'll let you say whatever you want for 5 minutes. And then you go to a scary basement. That's like straight up like how you start doing comedy. You think in your head, you think like, oh, I'm going to go do like a comedy club and I'm going to get discovered. No, you go to like a scary basement. A man is mad that everyone is there in this scary basement and is rude. And you talk to the man in the scary basement and he'll be rude. Be like, you want 5? Okay, oh man, everybody's so entitled these days. Fine, you get 5 minutes. And you're like, oh, sorry, man, I don't want to put you out. And then you do 5 minutes and it's just all other people there also wanting to say 5 minutes of insanity into the ether, and you don't get any laughs. But then you go, well, that was interesting. And then you try it a couple more times, and then maybe you get some laughs and you get addicted to it, or maybe you don't. It's a weird, it's not like any other job. You can't just like do it as a job. You have to you go to a scary basement.
Yeah. Kind of a parallel to the basement shows that we all play in metal bands, and all the other people there are just the other people in bands.
This is how weird the place was. That now, admittedly, the guy that ran it was very nice. I'm not trying to besmirch him, but the scary basement that I did comedy in was also a scary basement where metal shows would happen. It was called the Devil's Cellar. And it was small enough and obscure enough that I had never been to a metal show or knew this existed. This is the type of metal that was playing there. Like this, and so you can imagine the comedy that was happening there as well.
Nice.
So just out of curiosity, how do you kind of make it so that way? Because so when you're doing jokes and stuff, it can, as well as I do, it can be taken the wrong way. It can be look like mean. So how do you kind of change it so that way it's not mean but funny, I guess?
That's why you go to scary basements, right? Because you go to like low stakes shows where there's, you're not getting paid, there's not a lot of audience, and you go and you try something out and you see if you get a couple of chuckles, see how it sounds to people. Maybe maybe one of your friends that's a comic is also watching and they go, oh yeah, hey, that has legs, this part was funny, you should try saying this or whatever. And you kind of, that's the difficult thing about comedy is you really can only practice it live. I mean, you can write all you want, and as you get better at comedy, you'll be able to kind of write jokes and kind of know ahead of time that, oh yeah, this will probably work. But really, you can only practice it live, so you just have to go to lower stakes shows than what you normally do. And you'll see this like every once in a while, they're like a big comic, you'll be like, oh man, they'll like drop into a place, or you'll be like, oh, I can't believe they're playing at this small venue. And then you go and you're like, well, that was weird, because generally like they're working new stuff out. Like Chris Rock talks about this all the time, where he's always going to the Comedy Cellar in New York and people are always stoked, and he's like, no man, when my stuff starts out, it's bad. Like I work on it to get it as funny as I am. So you've got a guy like Chris Rock saying that, and obviously he's exaggerating to a point, but like people are expecting like the bulletproof Chris Rock they grew up with, and he's going in there like, how should I word this complicated thing about race?
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So how would you, given the times and people maybe getting started in new things using online platforms, they don't have that face-to-face interaction to know if what they're saying is actually funny or if it's like just shitty. So do you have any advice for people do you think it's possible to get started with online stuff, or do you kind of need to have that in-person experience?
It's not, I would say like go nuts. I mean, hey, if you want to start, you don't want to wait, try it out, but like don't expect it to be anything like in-person comedy. I mean, there's a much more visceral reaction when you're in front of somebody, and it's like watching a band's live music video versus like watching a band live. You know what I mean? It's not just the loudness, it's not just the volume. You can crank your speakers up in your living room and it's not going to feel the same or sound the same. So comedy on the internet is definitely a very different thing than comedy in person. And I would say, hey, go nuts, try it. Just like be ready that like if you start, oh man, I'm so funny online, you go in person and it's like a different thing.
I want to switch from comedy if Aaliyah is okay with that.
Sure.
Okay, I think we should talk about Twitch streaming for a few minutes, because Corey is also a Twitch streamer. I don't know if you know that, over at Knotfest. So let's talk about Twitch streaming for a second. I know we went over it last time a little bit, but let's go over it again. So you kind of want to go over like basically what you do as a Twitch streamer first?
That's kind of, we touched on that earlier, where basically like, I mean, I do a bunch of stuff, I'll do whatever on Twitch that'll entertain people. Like, we listen to new albums on Fridays, Saturdays. I tell people to come bring a suggestion of a metal band I don't know, and we'll listen to 15 minutes of it, and we'll kind of chat about it and stuff. But yeah, mostly my main draw on Twitch is looking up bands and finding new music with people and making jokes and having fun and kind of doing it in a silly, lighthearted way. I mean, it was a compulsion of mine where this is something I would just do on my own. Before Banger, I would just do this like a psychopath.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it at Banger for the video, and I was still doing it just alone in my basement like a psychopath. And then one time I was like, oh man, maybe I should stream this on Twitch. And my Twitch stream was like, yeah, that sounds like it'd be fun. And it like was immediately like, oh, I don't know why I haven't been doing it this way the whole time. So basically what my Twitch stream is I'm cheating. I'm getting paid to make something that I get paid to do. I'm double dipping.
I remember you talked about this briefly last time. So because you're getting paid for the Banger we're doing, you're getting paid for the Twitch stream at the same time.
And that's what I incur. That's a big thing I've been like starting to push on friends, where it's like, what do? Do you have to do prep work for that? Why don't you try and make money while you're doing the work to make money?
Well, how would you do that for something like, give an example for people, like how could they do that?
So, I mean, Daniel DK, who's now a huge, way bigger than me on Twitch, fucking kicking my ass on Twitch. For years, I was this guy. Hey, you're practicing guitar anyways. You're working on songs. Why not turn on a camera while you do it? Yeah, maybe. Blah blah blah. Yeah. I was busting this guy's balls for what do you're wasting your time. Why aren't you doing this? Finally, pandemic comes around. He can't perform shows, and he's like, all right, well, I want to stay sharp, so yeah, I'll try this Twitch thing out. Boom, blows up immediately, massive, everybody loves it, he's great, showman, blah blah blah. But like, it doesn't have to be like that. It could be anything. Or do you make costumes? Boom, there you go. Hey, make the costume and just chat with people while you're doing stuff. Tell people what you're doing. If you're an expert at doing something, just like go on and try and explain your process in an entertaining way. I have a friend who's a prop master, and I keep telling her, like, I mean, if you're making props, like, you're making props, especially that a Twitch audience would like. She makes like props for like horror shows and stuff. It's like, you're making a severed head. People on Twitch want to see how to make a severed head, bud. So whatever you're doing, and I mean, if you're a writer and you're researching for something, as long as it's not some, NDA top secret thing, boom, toss it on Twitch while you're doing the research. If it's a topic people care about, hey, they get to come in and learn, and they'll share with you, and
So okay, so then where does the money end of things come into it then with Twitch? Because anybody can get up there and just make some. How do you get the cash rolling in?
If people like you, they throw money at you like you're a cam girl. It's an honest living.
And
people like throwing money at things they like. I mean,
Mm-hmm. And so what would be your recommendations for somebody to build an engaged audience? Because that's going to be the hard, like, because it's one thing to just like turn on a camera and start filming yourself, but you have to build that engaged audience.
Yeah. So my advice is always just, what they say about Twitch is that the time you're going to get the least new viewers to your Twitch stream is while you're streaming. While you're streaming that's the time when you're giving your viewers what you've brought them in for. And every other moment that you're not streaming is when that viewers should be coming in. So go to wherever is like a hub for whatever it is that you're streaming, right? If you want to build a community, you have to be involved in a community. I was host on Banger TV, so I'm in the Banger community, I'm in the metal community, so I'm pulling from there, and that's kind of the community that I'm active in. So you just kind of have to be active in a community. Don't expect to suddenly just turn on a Twitch stream and have a bunch of people there. It's not like there's a bunch of people just waiting to watch someone that they've never heard of or seen. Just get involved in a community, be active in a community, and do it. Because I mean, the community that I'm talking about is probably something that you're involved in anyways. It's a hobby, it's a passion, and so just make sure you're kind of engaging and involved in that community and kind of saying, hey, I'm part of the community, this is something I'm doing. And most communities really like supporting things that their people are doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we like, every one of us likes something and we go, boy, I wish there was more blank, right? I wish there was more, I wish there was more metal streamers and YouTubers that were like focused on comedy. And so, you know, I'm just trying to make as much of it as I can because that's what I like and what I want.
And which of your streams is your most fun, do you think?
Definitely, yeah. The Metal Monthly research streams are a blast. It is like there's times where like I am. It depends. It's a bit of a dice roll because like sometimes there's just a week where every band is boring. like last week, every band was like 6 out of 10. I had my friend Metal Cat on. We were doing the thing together, and thank God because you know we could bounce back and forth. But every band was a 6 out of 10. It's like I need either good bands or terrible bands. But there's times when sometimes it's a bunch of great bands and I get all excited, and then sometimes there's just like so much crazy stuff happening back to back that like I can't catch a breath and my like abs hurt. I'm laughing so much from just the insanity that is the world of metal, because it's just, you know, there's no that it's very egalitarian, right? There's no, if you create an entry on Metal Archives and as long as Metal Archives okays it, which they'll okay a lot of shit, you like, I'm not going to skip it. I don't skip anything unless they're bigots. I do not skip, no matter how low quality it looks, no matter how jank, no matter how weird. I will click it as long as it's not bigots, or sometimes gore grind bands have like album covers that are literally like a baby cut up. And I'm like, I can't put that on Twitch. But, you know, so you really get all that the metal world has to offer. And sometimes that is just like hilarious there and hilarious sometimes in like a, oh my God, they're intentionally being this funny and it's amazing. And sometimes it's like, wow, they do not realize what's happening and this is hilarious.
So just out of curiosity on this, how come you don't kind of like say in advance which bands are going to be talking about on the stream? It's just you go Metal Monthly, but wouldn't you get more people if you kind of said we got XXXXXXXXX?
I feel like that would be impossible given the number of bands.
Yeah.
So, maybe
3 reasons I would say. There's 3 good reasons why I don't do that. Number 1 is I honestly try and go in completely cold every time. I do not do any research in advance. I am just getting this stuff fucking, I'm not cheating. I'm not, I want my pure visceral reaction when I open up something, because sometimes like there's stuff that I just can't, like just opening it and seeing the guy's band photo is like destroys me. 2, one of my biggest fears is bands coming in while I'm looking at their music and shitting on them. Because like I'm not nice to everybody. It's always like I'm for the purpose of being funny and silly, and like, you know, I'm the type of person where if someone was saying that about my stuff, couldn't care less. I mean, if you're having fun and people are laughing, whatever. But some people would obviously be very upset. I mean, I did a 4 out of 5 review of a band that was smaller too. I was like, hey, this is a band that I think is unique. It's something we don't talk about a lot on Banger. Let me review this. And they're like, okay. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really liked the record. I made some jokes about one thing. Someone I know knows the band, and the band was not pleased with the jokes I made in the 4 out of 5 review. the hey, let me try and expose your record to a wider audience. Here's some jokes about some things I would tweet that I didn't like about the album. Was not a fan of the review. So I don't want necessarily the bands wandering in there. And on the same token, like a thing I really value is organic growth. Like everything I try and do, I like, you can look at my Instagram. I don't hashtag anything. I don't, you know, do these linking with accounts and stuff. I just really want, part of it is also laziness, but part of it is a belief that, like, you know, if you exclusively just try and grow organically and honestly, like, you're gonna have a really solid community. And you know, however you get big, I'm not judging anyone, but for me, I'm like, I don't want to have to put like, you know, every time I die album reaction, when like, I don't give a shit. You know, I don't want to have to do that. So that's why there's the three. But the main reason is I want to be surprised by everything.
Fair. No, I can understand that. Corey, did you have a follow-up on that?
No, I'm good.
Aaliyah, take us home. Bring us home, brother.
Take us home.
Take us home.
Take me home. Take me home.
Yeah.
I also sing a lot, and I sing very poorly, so that's an exciting part of the stream.
Why aren't you in a band,
I'm
Blayne?
debating, like investing into some Eddie money right there, but
oh, that's a boring question. I wanted to ask you this because I'm just curious about it. How long did it take you to get comfortable with like the back end streaming software? Like, I know everybody's got like these little pretty layouts and everything, and I'm just like, I know how to make the graphics, but I don't know how to use the streaming software. How long did it take you to understand that stuff and get up and running smoothly?
Let's say however long I've been streaming plus another 6 months. Like I'm pretty terrible with everything, to be honest. I kind of integrate that into the stream, right? You know, there's a thing with comedy where people enjoy comedy more. Like they don't want the comedian to be smarter than them, right? A lot of comedy is the audience feeling smarter than you. And so I play up how bad I am at the streaming software just on stream. And so if there's something I don't know how to do, I'll just intentionally do it even worse than I'm already doing it and get the stream to help me. You know, so not knowing how to do the stream, I mean, you can make it charming in a way. And, you know, there's a place. It really feels like there's a place for everyone on Twitch. So there's a place for these super slick, flashy transition, great layout, you know, streams. And I mean, you know, one of the people that made me want to stream was this guy, Eris, Avoiding the Puddle. He's a massive Twitch streamer. He's huge, and he is like intentionally plays up that he's an idiot. His stream is literally just the video game he's playing and his camera is like a 15-year-old Logitech thing that half the time puts a green glow on everything for no reason, and he just won't buy a new camera because it's part of the shtick and it's funny. And you know, there's a place for that. I mean, there's probably going to be a easier route if you're good with layouts and you can make everything look slick and there's all this stuff. It'll probably be more eye-catching immediately. But hey, you know, if you don't have that ability and you feel like you've got the ability to charm, you know, from this guy, you know, go for it. Don't let fear of not knowing how to stream prevent you from streaming. I mean, at the end of the day, you can really just click like 4 things and start streaming. I mean, your stream will just be a camera of you, but you know, it can work.
Well,
don't expect to be good at things. Everybody's like nervous. They're always expecting to be like super good at something that they just started doing. It's like, everybody that's good at this like has done this for a while. You know what I mean? No one sits down and is good at something. So like, don't be worried about not being perfect at something. I mean, there's a lot of Twitch is people learning things, right? There's a lot of like, there's whole Twitch streams where someone's like learning guitar, like practicing songs, right? So don't worry about not being good at things.
So basically you're saying you should be using it in order to get good versus expecting to get paid right off the bat.
Yeah, right. You know, the best advice to anyone who wants to start Twitch streaming is if you want to start Twitch streaming because you're like, boy, I need a job. Yeah, don't do it. Right. I mean, it's not, you could literally spend 10 years on Twitch and make $8, right? You know, if you're looking for a job, you know, take a video editing course, learn a video edit, and then use that skill to try and have a Twitch streamer, you know, like take a class in Photoshop and then go be a graphic designer and then try and, you know, there's things that you can learn that will guaranteed make you money. Twitch is not one of them. So if you're like, I want to make money, treat it as a hobby, treat it as a fun thing, treat it as a thing you get fulfillment of doing no matter what your payment is. You know, I always tell people being able to talk for 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours with no prompt will help you in your life. You know, no matter what you do, if you talk to people good, they like you more. So even if you're a graphic designer, if you talk good in the office between the graphic designs, the office will like you and keep you around.
That's true.
I mean, a lot of talented people come through Banger, and the people that, and the nature of film and TV is everything's a 6-month contract, a year contract, 2-year contract, and then you're gone. And then you go somewhere else probably because, there might not be something here. But, the people you like, there's a certainly a skill requirement, but a lot of people meet the skill requirement. And then you just want people that are fun, that you mesh with, that are cool. And, something like Twitch can help you get over your fear of talking in public, because you're sort of talking in public, but if you have a small Twitch stream, you're also talking to fucking no one. You're just shouting out into the ether and it's gone, right? So,
Very
So-
low pressure.
I wanted to just quickly touch on Banger since you brought it up, and we haven't even talked about Banger. Did we talk about Banger in the last one? I don't even remember.
A little bit.
I know.
Did we? Okay, so Banger. So like, can you kind of go over like the difference between doing reviews at Banger versus what you do on the stream? I know it's shorter, but is like, how do you prepare, I guess, for Banger?
For Banger, I mean, it's something I sit down, I write a full script, I do my research. Twitch is me trying to be as improv-y as possible with everything. I might look at some things and read some things, so I have some conversation topics off the start. Have a little thing, but mostly Twitch is me, trying to improv, trying to work, just, take in whatever and react to it and immediately kind of process it out in a comedy. Whereas with Banger, I'm trying to, deliver something that is factually correct, educational, and then with some decently written jokes in it. So there's it's the kind of two sides.
One is prepared, and one is improv. I got it.
Yeah.
So what kind of research do you do with the Banger type
I
thing?
mean, it can really vary. I mean, if I'm reviewing an album, I'll obviously listen to the album a shit ton. If it's a band
Define
I
a
know.
shit ton. So like, okay, so when you're doing a review, like a lot of people, like Corey, how many times do you normally listen to an album? It's like 3 or 4 times before you do a review?
It really depends. But one thing I do is while I'm writing the review, I'm like live typing my reactions to the review or to the album. And then I work all of that into my review. So that's one thing I do that's like part of my process.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because that's cool. I was brought on because you were like, oh, Corey's not here. We should bring you on so you can chat with Corey. And then I have it. Corey and I have said like 8 words to each other. Corey, what's going on? How you doing? That's cool because my review process is like totally different. I generally like listen to the album like generally 3 times before I even start writing anything. I'll usually like a thing I always do with albums is we'll listen to them like on the bus or like while I'm driving somewhere or like while I'm working out or walking the dog, because I like to listen to an album in the context of like something is slightly distracting me, because I find that a lot of the times I can pull out cool things about the album, because the things that draw my sole attention on the album when there's a bunch of distractions going on. And also I like to know what albums sound like in like headphones, because sometimes albums sound awful in headphones and people will go, oh, you should be listening to them on a stereo. And you're like, yeah, bro, most people aren't going to listen to this album on a stereo. I have a great stereo system. I have a bunch of different speaker systems in my house, and I'll listen to the album through all of them. But if it sounds like shit on one of them, I'm going to let people know. So I'll try and listen to it in a variety of contexts. And then I'll listen to it like, just sitting down with my nice little reference headphone amplifier and my nice reference quality headphones and give it a proper listen. And then I'll start writing. So that's cool. I just get percolating in the brain and bounce stuff back. And usually the thing that gets me start writing is like I'll have listened to it a couple times and I'll have come up with like my favorite joke that I'm going to say during the review. And that's what gets me started writing.
How long is it?
The process is so different because I always like to include the live, like, okay, this is just me live reacting to this album from the perspective of like a normal fan versus somebody who works in the industry, because that's kind of how a fan would react to it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why. And I mean, that's why I try and listen to it while I'm doing something, because it's like someone's probably going to be listening to it on the bus. Like most people are probably listening to it on the bus or while they're driving to work, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah, it's like we're like oh, I'm not just reviewing the album. It's like a DeWalt drill. I gotta put it through the job site and make sure it's contractor quality stamp on the album.
Exactly.
So, Blayne, what's the amount of time it usually takes you to come up with the material to write a review? Like, what's the actual prep time then?
It's like totally varies per album. Some of the albums, just like I had a really fun time with my last two reviews, which were Venom Prison and Boris, because they just really kind of spilled out of me, and there was kind of a natural just flow to everything, and I was kind of just, it almost was like I just sat down and just and then I was like, oh, I'm done. But then sometimes it's like there's a thing that happens a bunch with like generally if a band is like really big, like they've been around for a long time and they're very good, they're like a festival headliner. But for me, it's like a lot of times I've heard that band a lot. Like they've released, this is their 11th album, and it's like it's pretty rare that your 11th album is your best album. It's common that your 11th album is like your fourth best album. And that's a hard review to write, because you're like, I really respect this band and I don't want them to be a different band, but also like, what am I going to say about blank that hasn't already been said? You know what I mean? Like it can be, and then I'm just sitting there like, oh, God, what do I fucking write? And it takes forever. And I'm just like yanking, because I'm like, how do I talk about something that's already been talked about so much, and the album hasn't presented anything new, but it's not bad, so I can't make fun of it.
Yeah. So we got about 5 minutes left, guys. So who wants to ask a final question to Blayne?
There's so much pressure on it. Like, this is the last question, guys.
Final question.
Well, a couple.
Curtis.
Sorry.
You're so, you're so Canadian.
So Aaliyah, why don't you give a final question? Because you always come up with the best questions.
No, even more pressure. Jeez.
I know. I did that on purpose just to put you under pressure here.
If you had to encapsulate your philosophy of comedy in a statement, what would it be?
My philosophy of comedy is simple. It's like there's like everything can be made fun of, and everything should be made fun of, and there is a style of comedy that's for you. There's a style of comedy that you won't care about, and there's a style of comedy you will hate. And just try and find and engage with and consume and nurture the style of comedy that you like, whether that's creating that comedy, whether that's going out and supporting those artists, because I'd love it if I could exclusively do material about metal bands. That would be great. If there was like a metal comedy scene where I could just have a couple of metal comic buddies, we could go on a tour and I could make all the like weird niche metal band jokes that I want to, because like I'm up there trying to explain who Varg is to like normal human beings so I can make fun of Varg. Like, it's tricky. It's like, you need to understand there's this guy and he is basically a vlogger now. He did a murder. He's a bigot. It's weird. So it would be nice to have that. But yeah, I mean, comedy is a weird thing where people don't really think about comedy as having genres, but comedy's got as many genres as metal, and there's a genre of comedy out there for you.
Cool.
That's my general philosophy about comedy.
Corey, do you have a final question for Blayne?
So, other than going to a scary basement, what are some ways that people can break into doing comedy, or kind of even see if they're good at it, other than going to the scary basement, especially in times like now where the scary basement may or may not be open?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is, I joke about the scary basement, but I started comedy 10 years ago, and comedy's changed a lot in 10 years. And I understand that, look, me going into a scary basement, that's not really scary. I'm the scariest person in the basement probably. But you know, if you're a woman, if you're a trans person, you know, you're going into a scary basement full of mostly dudes, you're like, well, this is how I die. There are whatever kind of you identify with now, there's probably like comedy nights targeted specifically for you. And you know, I ran an open mic with a couple of people for a long time where it was above ground, and we had a hey, you know, it was a marathon open mic, like 4 hours, 5 hours, and it would just go. People would write their name on the sheet, and we'd go through the sheet, but we would alternate guy, girl, guy, girl, guy, girl. So it would, you know, women wouldn't have to be terrified because there were other women there, and it was a nice thing, and it actually made for a really great comedy night because it gives you all these different perspectives, and it keeps you from getting like, hey, here's the fifth dude in a plaid shirt that is single and wants to talk about it. So whatever kind of thing that you like, there's probably a local scene or a local night with that kind of thing. And, you know, there is Zoom comedy. It exists. There are comedy classes. They exist. I always say the best thing to do is just, you got to go try it, and, you know, go try it in a place, you know, there's probably a place you hang out or a bar near where you hang out that has a comedy night, and there's probably going to be similar people there. And a lot of comedy is just building a little community and building some friends. And then your friends, you know, will tell you, hey, that was funny, or hey, stop doing that. don't do that. Things like that. And so, yeah, you know, just try and find a group of like-minded people, because that's how you're going to get into comedy. And that's how you're going to stay in comedy. And that's how you're going to find out if you're funny. Because, you know, if you find a group of like-minded people and none of them want to hang out with you, it's probably because you're not good at comedy.
Ooh. So Blayne, is there anything final that you want to say before we end off?
Hey, no, thanks for having me again. It's fun chatting with you all. Time really flies.
Cool. And then how do people find you on Twitch? What's the name of the channel that they got to go to?
Whether it's Twitch, they can whatever they want to find me on. If they just type metal comedy, all one word, into any search bar, my face is going to pop up there. Boop. Cool. Somehow metal comedy is two very simple, easy to spell, short words that I just put together. No, I'm not making people put an underscore in there. There's no like official metal comedy TV. I'm not having to do any of that. Just metal comedy. No one took it on like everything. Metalcomedy.com, mine. Twitch, metal comedy. Instagram, metal comedy. Twitter, metal comedy. I don't know why everybody was leaving this on the table.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, thank you again, Blayne, for coming on. And with that, party on, Corey.
Party on, guys.